The movie follows Ray Ferrier, Tom Cruise, a divorced dad who just wanted to spend a weekend with his kids. But everything goes to hell when Earth is invaded by aliens in giant machines called tripods. These things aren't from space. They were buried here for centuries, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Ray has to flee with his kids through a ruined country. While everything explodes around them, humans go insane, and aliens hunt them like cattle. It's a brutal, desperate survival story with a big question underneath. What if we're not as in control of the planet as we think? In New Jersey, Ray comes home after finishing his shift at the docks. His ex-wife, Mary, drops off the kids at his house so Ray can take care of them while she visits her parents in Boston. Rachel greets her dad, but Robbie completely ignores him. Later, the news reports that Ukraine is almost entirely dark because of strange lightning storms that hit the country in the middle of the night. Apparently, some electromagnetic pulses interrupted all electric currents, followed by an earthquake. Ray convinces Robbie to play some baseball, but the boy keeps calling him by his name instead of Dad, and repeats how much he hates coming there. Frustrated, Ray throws the ball and breaks a window, while Robbie goes back to his room. Rachel tries to give her dad advice, but he decides to take a nap. A few hours later, Ray wakes up and finds out Rachel ordered food to eat. Ray eats it while calling for Robbie, who doesn't answer. Rachel reveals he took Ray's car and left. Desperate, Ray goes outside and sees the garage is empty, but gets distracted when he notices people staring at the sky. He does the same and is shocked to see a massive, dark storm cloud. Soon the wind starts blowing hard and Ray notices it's going toward the storm, which doesn't make sense. Suddenly the wind stops and lightning begins flashing inside the cloud without making a sound. Ray thinks it's funny, but Rachel is scared, so they run back inside. The lightning keeps striking the same spots over and over again, which starts to worry Ray too, so they end up hiding under the table. After a few minutes, the lightning stops and Ray checks the house. There's no electricity in the entire building, but even machines that don't need power, like the landline phone or his watch, don't work. He runs outside and finds out all the cars have also stopped working. Robbie is nearby, disoriented, so Ray tells him to go back home with his sister while he investigates. When Ray gets near a garage, his mechanic friend tells him the car starters are burned out, even though they weren't close to the lightning. Then he joins a crowd near a church to see a hole in the street caused by the strikes. Ray picks up a piece of rubble and is shocked by how cold it is. Suddenly, underground noises are heard and everyone backs away as cracks begin spreading all over the street. They start destroying the buildings and cars in the area, and when the street opens up, the church splits in half. A spot in the road spins around for a second before collapsing, creating a crater where several cars fall in. People run away in panic when the hole spits out a car again. Then, huge tripod legs rise from the hole and crush the car Ray was hiding behind, but he dodges them just in time. A giant machine emerges, revealing itself to be an alien robot. After making a loud noise, it opens fire on the crowd, killing people trying to flee. Even those trying to escape by car are hit by the rays. Ray tries hiding inside a store, but the death rays reach there too, not to mention the cars flying through the windows. After running a lot, Ray manages to escape and runs down the road as buildings collapse behind him. He hides behind a wall and watches the tripod walk away. Now he can return home, but he's so shocked he doesn't know what to say to his kids. He washes his face and finally regains control. Ray announces they're leaving and orders his kids to start packing. Before leaving, he makes sure to grab his gun. On the street, many people are trying to flee town. Ray puts his kids in a car the mechanic managed to fix and asks him to come with them, but he refuses. While they argue, the tripod fires behind them and causes a fire. Ray drives off with his family and the mechanic is killed by the laser. As they drive through the streets, Ray tells his kids to stay low. Buildings and vehicles keep exploding behind them, destroying the entire town. When the car gets to the highway, there's barely any space to pass because dozens of vehicles have stopped working and huge crowds are fleeing on foot. Rachel can't stop screaming, so Robbie tries his best to calm her down. Ray tells them what he saw and theorizes that the lightning storm came to wake the machines. They finally arrive at Mary's neighborhood, which hasn't been attacked yet, and decide to stay at her house for now. Robbie tries calling his grandparents' home, but the line is dead. The supplies Ray brought from his place are just bachelor leftovers, so the only thing he can make is peanut butter sandwiches, though Rachel has to remind him she's allergic. Neither of the kids wants to eat, and Ray throws the bread at the window in frustration. When night falls, he announces they'll sleep in the basement for safety. In the middle of the night, the family wakes up to shaking branches, flashes of light, and some growling coming from the window. Suddenly, a shriek echoes through the area, and the whole house shakes as the lights intensify. The noise becomes sharp, so Robbie drags his family into a lower room just before fiery debris bursts through the window. Ray manages to close the door before the fire reaches them, and now the trio is left in darkness. The next morning, Ray goes outside and finds the basement in ruins. As he goes up the stairs, he sees most of the neighborhood was destroyed by a plane crash. A news crew is rummaging through the wreckage looking for food, so Ray asks them for information. Turns out these alien machines have appeared all over the world and are being piloted by the aliens who arrived with the lightning storms. They're also equipped with impenetrable shields, which means the army has been fighting a losing battle. At that moment, they hear a sound, so the news crew leaves right away. Ray gathers his family, and Robbie needs a moment to stare in shock at his destroyed home, before joining the others in the car. When they reach the countryside, Ray explains they're going to Boston to find Mary. Robbie keeps saying he wants to go back and fight the aliens, so he and his father end up arguing. When Rachel says she needs to use the bathroom, Ray stops the car so she can go into the woods. She walks toward the river and is horrified to see hundreds of floating bodies. Ray sees them too and quickly takes her back to the car. When a military convoy passes by, Robbie begs them to let him come because he's desperate for revenge. Ray starts arguing with him again, but it's Rachel who convinces her brother to return to the car. During the trip, Robbie keeps complaining, so Ray lets him drive, even though he has no license. As night falls, they arrive at an area where many refugees are trying to find a way to escape. Robbie gets scared and gives the wheel back to his dad. The crowd soon surrounds the car, hitting it as they beg to be taken. When a man jumps onto the hood, Ray speeds up to knock him off. The others get angry and start throwing things at the car, blocking Ray's vision. He nearly runs someone over and swerves at the last second, crashing into a pole. The crowd takes advantage and starts shaking the car, breaking the windows even if they get cut in the process. Robbie and Ray are pulled out, and Ray has to fight off several men to keep them from getting to his daughter. There are too many of them, and not even Robbie's help is enough. So Ray yells at Rachel to get out. But people start crawling through the broken windows, and she has no space to move. Suddenly, Ray fires his gun into the air, which finally makes everyone back off. While rescuing Robbie from the mob, another man points a gun at Ray's head. He forces Ray to pull Rachel out before leaving with the car. Afterward, the family enters a diner and watches people start fighting again over the vehicle, with several gunshots heard. The kids can't believe their father is on the verge of breaking down. Moments later, the trio joins the crowd crossing the bridge on foot and sees thousands of posters of missing people. Those who've heard news confirm it's happening all over the world, with Europe being the most affected. They eventually reach a town that still has power, and even a train goes by. At the Hudson docks, some volunteers ask for blood donations. Ray is surprised to find an old friend in the crowd, but gets distracted when birds start flying away. At that moment, some tripods appear on the hills and everyone panics. The military begins to block the ramps to stop the crowd from rushing the ships, which are already full. As cars fall into the ocean, Ray's friend begs for help, but he doesn't hear her because he runs to get his kids on board before the ramp is closed. Ray realizes there's still space, but no matter how much he begs the officers, they don't allow anyone else on. People are so desperate they try to hang on to the ramps and fall as the ship departs. Robbie quickly climbs the other side of the ramp and helps those still holding on. Suddenly, a whirlpool appears in the water, and a tripod emerges in front of them. It flips one of the ferries, making people and cars fall into the sea. A vehicle pushes Ray's family underwater, and they see refugees trapped inside. As the other ships are overturned too, Ray and his kids reach the surface and swim as fast as they can to avoid the tripod tentacles pulling people out of the water. Luckily, the family reaches the shore and watches in horror as the tripods keep chasing people on land. The trio keeps running and enters the woods, where pieces of victims' clothing fall from the sky. They join a crowd walking along the road, and Robbie rushes ahead when he sees another military convoy passing nearby. Planes fly overhead as he joins the convoy to fight in a battle on the hills. Ray has to leave Rachel on the ground and run after Robbie to stop him from joining the fight. Explosions go off all over the place as Ray shakes Robbie, trying to make him listen. At the same time, a couple thinks Rachel is alone and takes her, so Ray must let go of his son to go after her. Robbie, determined, runs off to join the battle, and Ray gets Rachel back. But now he must watch as the military trucks roll down the hill in flames. The tripods are getting close to town, so Ray and Rachel have to run and leave Robbie behind. A man named Harlan sees them and invites them to hide in his basement. Rachel is still upset about losing her brother, and Ray tries to convince her they'll find him later. But for now, she must sleep. However, when she asks him to sing her favorite lullabies, Ray doesn't remember any. He sings a random song, and once Rachel finally falls asleep, he accepts a drink from Harlan, who has lost his entire family but has supplies in the basement that might last a long time. Harlan figures that if the machines were buried, it means the aliens were here before humanity and have been watching us all this time. Suddenly, the building shakes and debris falls from the ceiling, creating a hole in the basement. Harlan takes Ray to the window and shows him the tripods are settling. Then he reveals he let Ray hide with him because he hopes they can fight back together. Among the debris and walls, Ray finds some strange red vines. Then he hears a noise and tells everyone to hide just before a tripod tentacle enters the basement. When it gets distracted by a rat, Ray uses the chance to move carefully and reunite with Rachel. They shift position every time the tentacle moves to avoid being seen. Harlan gets ready to attack it with an axe, but Ray signals him not to. So Harlan carefully sneaks under the tentacle to join Ray. Sadly, he makes noise and draws the tripod's attention, but Ray finds a mirror and they hide behind it. The tentacle falls for the trap and almost leaves, but returns when it sees a foot move. The group moves quickly and escapes before being found, leaving behind a shoe that convinces the tripod no one is there. Finally, the tentacle exits the basement, but ripples in the water show that something else is coming. After hearing something break, the trio turns off the lights and hides again. Now the real aliens come in and get dangerously close to the group, who wait for a chance to change hiding spots. Harlan gets his weapon and wants to shoot, but Ray silently struggles to stop him as the aliens curiously examine human objects. When Harlan manages to take the gun back from Ray, a loud horn calls the aliens back to their tripods. The red vines keep spreading through the basement, and Harlan screams after seeing something through the window. Ray checks and discovers the aliens are capturing people to drain their blood, then spraying it on the ground to fertilize the red plant. Desperate, Harlan starts digging a hole in the basement, thinking he can make a tunnel to the subway stations in the city. Harlan keeps yelling, "Not my blood!" and hits Ray with the shovel when he tries to stop him. So Ray puts a blindfold on Rachel and tells her to sing while covering her ears. He now gets close to Harlan and kills him quickly. When he comes back, Ray hugs Rachel and they fall asleep together. Moments later, the tentacle returns and Rachel wakes up just in time to scream at the sight. Ray immediately hits it with the axe to bring it down while Rachel runs upstairs. Then he keeps striking it until it breaks. The tentacle retreats, but Rachel keeps screaming, so Ray rushes up to find her. When he opens the front door, he's horrified to find vines and blood covering the yard. Ray searches for his daughter and, upon reaching the top of the hill, sees blood covering the entire area. Suddenly, a tripod lands behind him, so Ray has to run. He tries to hide inside a truck, but the tripod lifts it and starts crushing it. Before it can kill him, it gets distracted by Rachel's screams nearby. It grabs her and walks away, destroying more buildings along the way. As Ray runs after it, he finds a military truck and grabs some grenades, which he starts throwing at the robot. The tripod also grabs Ray and throws him into a cage filled with victims, including Rachel. As Ray checks on his daughter, a smaller tentacle comes into the cage to take the next person for harvesting. The next time it enters, Ray pushes Rachel aside and lets himself be taken instead. A man grabs his hand right away and the group helps pull him out. As he's being pulled out, Ray leaves the grenades inside the machine, and after much effort from the group, he gets back into the cage. The grenades explode and the tripod starts collapsing, causing blood to spill everywhere and the cages to fall. Luckily, they land on plants or trees and everyone is safe as the tripod crashes down. In the morning, Ray, Rachel, and the crowd finally reach the city, where birds are feeding on the alien vines. Ray picks one of the strange plants and notices it's now white, meaning it's dying. Nearby, a tripod collapses on a building and a soldier explains it wasn't destroyed. The machine started acting weird and fell on its own. Soldiers escort the crowd through the city, but soon another tripod appears. It barely moves and birds are already flying around it. Ray realizes that if the birds are near, then the shield must be off, so he tells the soldiers. They position themselves right away and open fire, bringing the tripod down until it crashes into a building. A hatch opens on the machine and the alien pilot tries to crawl out, but dies instantly. Later, Ray takes Rachel to her grandparents' house, where they happily reunite with Mary and even Robbie. Later on, scientists discover it was the local bacteria that killed the aliens.